All right, come on, Getter. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Another election. Another special election. Another obvious defeat for obvious reasons. That apparently some people are now just finding out to be obvious and are like stunned, like, oh my God, they did it. Oh my God, how did they do this? How did this happen? We're going to tell you. We're going to tell you, folks. We're going to tell you how it happened. All right, for those out there who watch on YouTube, you might notice that we're not really sharing those links very much anymore. I'll go ahead and put it in my Twitter feed now below the other ones, as I'll sometimes do. I should notify you anyway, but of course I'm trying to herd you all over, There's no doubt. I don't even make a secret about it. Not even making a secret about it, folks. I'm trying to herd you over. All right, let's get the ball rolling here.
What's going on, Rich?
Hey, Jack, it's good to be back, brother. How you been?
The drum roll is going. The audience is cheering. Finally! The people's Pundit has returned! Humanist! Rich, what's amazing to me, and I've got to get you on about this, because you look what's going on to the polling industry right now. And in the last couple of weeks since the election, you're seeing it's like, Rich, all the people that you targeted, the Monmouth poll, Rich, the Monmouth poll has closed their doors. And Seltzer has retired. 538 has been shut down. These are all the people that we were told they were the gold standard. Remember, all the eggheads were telling me, these are the gold standard. Oh, that's the Monmouth poll. You got to trust them. And so it's the gold standard. That's the gold standard. And people are like, did we miss something? Do we miss a big Kamala vote? Do we miss a big abortion army vote going through? And 538 was the model. If he was the one guy all through 2024, especially through the fall, that was just like, they're liars. They're liars. They're all lying. They're all playing games. And it was Rich Barris, the one guy who was slimed, who was smeared, who was attacked, who they went after day after day after day. And I got to just say, wait a minute, how come all of you guys don't have jobs anymore? Donald Trump is in office, and Rich Barris, the People's Pundit, is still standing tall. Rich Barris, take a victory lap, man. You've earned it.
Couldn't have happened to worse people. I have absolutely no sympathy for them whatsoever, and I like to consider myself a pretty good Christian, Jack, or at least I try. We all try. We're all imperfect people, but they deserve this. They 100% deserve this. In 2016, we were going through something as an industry. It was a little bit tough to navigate, but those of us who used new collection methods and tried to understand why people didn't answer polls anymore, the difficulties of it, and the differences in people and who they are, and why does one want to be interviewed so much more than the other? We did okay, but it was only a few of us. In 2020, COVID came, and it was difficult because everybody was home. You had all of these Zoomers and professional class people signing up, especially for online panels, and they're sitting there clicking how they hate Donald Trump all day. So it was a little bit difficult, and I understood some of that. But 2024 was not hard. If you had a response bias so bad that you had Kamala Harris ahead in Iowa, then you should not be a public pollster. You shouldn't be a pollster at all for anyone. If you thought in any way, shape, or form that after the debate there was a bump for Kamala Harris and she was, going to suddenly ahead and had the edge in this election, you should not be a pollster. The truth is, public opinion does not move like this. It doesn't move as dramatically as these pollsters suggest, and that is narrative conservative polling. And now we know, by the way, I mean, with some of the government funding we've seen, Jack, we know that some of these people are funded by incredibly odd, just odd, sources. And I would never do something like that or get myself involved, especially not my public work, with an arrangement that they have in some of these polling outfits. And the bottom line is, I mean, if we ever thought that there were some methodological issues and people needed to fix them, that's all. I mean, we can throw that out the window. 2020 was easy. It was a fairly easy election to poll. Donald Trump was always going to win this election, and anyone who found otherwise was either lying intentionally, bad at their job, or just hedging because they're a coward.
Well, there it is. There's the interview with Jack Posobiec on the belated interview on the fall of some in the polling industry. You're watching Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Don't forget to like the videos if you like them and share them far and wide. All right. Best place, of course, to follow us is right below Locals. peoplespundit.locals.com. peoplespundit.locals.com. All right. So there is a lot to celebrate there because those two that he specifically mentioned were carried across, presented to the public, presented to voters, presented to whatever you want to call it, political news consumers and voters. People are going to decide the election as credible people. And not just credible people, the most credible of the lot. All right. And of course, that was not the situation at all. All right. So I would encourage you guys to go check out that entire interview. It was fantastic. It was great. We've had some time changes. He's been traveling. I've been traveling. So we meant to do that a while ago, and we got to it. So with that in mind, last night, of course, there was an election, two special elections in Pennsylvania, one being Pennsylvania State House 35. That is a Democratic area near Allegheny, of course, and it's going to go for the Democrat. However, the Pennsylvania State Senate election in Senate District 36 encompasses much of Trump country, Dutch country, Lancaster, right? And it didn't go Republicans' way, all right? And there are a few things I want to bring up here because this is what I took from last night. One, a lot of these groups, and you have to understand this, a lot of these groups that help get Donald Trump, these low and no propensity voters, and voters who don't vote in off-cycle elections, in midterms and specials, out to the polls, they have vanished. For the most part, they have vanished. And there's a reason why many of them have vanished, or at least some of them have. And this is a real problem with the Republican Party and its base and its activism, because it's going to get worse from here if things don't change. Okay. Number two, it's the realignment. And this is not novel at all. And then last night, I'm watching all of these people. One of them is somebody who hitched his wagon to Ron DeSantis' horse, thought that Donald Trump could not win the election, publicly stated it over and over again. And as you heard me say right there, 24 was not hard to poll. He and others listened to bad pollsters, listened to bad actors. They wanted them to be right. They didn't, they're not smart enough to understand what's going on themselves. They wanted them to be right. And their own bias poisoned their mind and their ability to use their own reason. And they ended up on the ass end of the coin. All right. So now they're out there trying to remain relevant and make a living. And I'm seeing all of these people pretend as if it's a novel discovery that Republicans and Democrats have largely flipped part of their constituencies, part of their coalitions, largely to do with education and vote history. Okay. It's very simple. If you are a watcher of Inside the Numbers, if you are a follower of the People's Pundit, if you wait for our polls to come out, you have known this for years. The Republican electorate, particularly the Trump, because there is no Republican electorate. Let's just call it how it is. There is no Republican electorate. There is a Trump electorate. Trump romped by double digits in this state Senate district last night. He won it by nearly 15 points. And yet, we can see the results here. Republicans lost it. Now, this is because they went out and found, and I'm not dissing the guy, they found a mediocre candidate, not a MAGA guy, and they pushed him up there. They thought it's a Trumpian district. He'll carry us over the finish line. Donald Trump's popularity over there is going to carry us over the finish line. And this is never going to happen. That's not how this works. This is Trump's coalition. It is not your coalition. You don't have a coalition. You have maybe in some areas a good 35 to 40% who are going to vote Republican no matter what, but that is it. The rest of this is solely from Donald Trump, and it's time that all of them get it through their thick heads, because that's the reality. And they're going to continue to lose these elections because on that demographic, which I just don't feel like I have to reiterate because I know you guys know this, but let's just assume there are new people watching and they don't know it. The education demographic has largely changed. If you are white and educated, and by the way, it's actually rather specific to whites, because Trump did rather well in some areas with non-whites who are educated, including in the Detroit metro area and the Atlanta metro area. If you are white, and I'm going to insult some people here, and I don't give a damn. If you are white and you have an education, you're getting more Democratic. You are the product of indoctrination that has been undergoing in this country for decades, starting with the 60s and the Cultural Revolution in this country. If you are non-white or you do not have an education, you are getting more Republican. And I hate to say, let's just call it credentialed, professional class, or what we over here call, when no one's listening, wannabe elites. They care about their social status and how people view them probably a little bit too much. And let me paint a picture for who these people are. Republican consultants feel that they could pick a vanilla Republican, and I'm not dissing the guy. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. I'm just calling it how I see it. Let's just pick a generic vanilla Republican, to hell with the base and to hell with Donald Trump's message and to hell with the battle, the speaking to the core of the central battle that is going on in this country. Forget about that. Trump did well in this district. We'll put a vanilla white guy up there, and don't worry, he's going to win all the credentialed Valium addicts that are sitting around miserable with their husbands in suburban America. That's not going to happen. Unless, of course, you are completely oblivious to the problem we're having right now with suburban America, then you should know this. You should know some of these people, specifically women, but not just women. You should know who they are. They care more about how the world sees them. They're professional class. They have to care about wokeness and some of this other crap. And, oh, God, we got to hate Donald Trump because they may lose their job over it, or maybe they won't make partner at their firm. It's a social element to this. There is a social element to this. And unless their wallet is hurting, like they were in 2020, which is why Donald Trump won Buckingham 1 and 2, which couldn't be more different. Unless that's going on, they are going to vote Democratic. And here's the kicker. They're going to vote at higher rates, especially when you don't give them anything to believe in. Barnes and I have tried to stress this to people over and over again. Rich, how do you give them something to believe in? That sounds so arbitrary. Well, first and foremost, folks, and by the way, 200 votes. See that? Basically 200 votes. Let me just look again. 26, no, it increased a little bit. Okay, it was more than that. 26,951 votes, or flat, 50% of the vote, compared to 26,469 votes for the GOP at 49.1%. Where did the other 9% go? It went to a generic libertarian candidate, Zachary Moore, who received 480 votes. That's the margin. There are just so many things that Republicans cannot get through their stupid, thick heads. While they count their millions and chase their Valium addicts, Republican consultants do not seem to understand the value of putting the hard work in that is not sexy, the ground game work that is not sexy. By the way, we're going to have Scott Pressler on the show this week to talk about this. And I'm going to show you some of his comments that he was furious last night. Not even furious, because maybe he will be when he comes on the show. He was so over it, which is a totally different element to this. Republicans are going to lose their best assets. Why? Because Scott has lived out of a car chasing ballots and got no help from the RNC. He's more responsible for winning elections in the state of Pennsylvania than any other one single person that you could name. You could take all the fancy organizations who ran around taking credit and throw them in the trash. By the way, the president's organization is completely disbanded. There are a bunch of grifters running around. Mark Mitchell's right. MAGA is stuffed with grifters. Meanwhile, Scott Pressler is living on a shoestring budget, working with a skeleton crew when he's lucky, and he is the most effective guy at talking to these normal, everyday, non-political people who can not only make the difference in election, but get you to win it comfortably if you're a Republican. The consultant class didn't put some generic Progressive Party member on the ballot. Democrats have this down to a science. They actually support fake libertarians and fake conservatives, the constitutional parties. They do this everywhere. They do it in Congress. They do it for Congress. They do it for state legislative districts, like you just saw there, state House and Senate. They do it in Senate races, like you saw them do to Eric Hovda in the state of Wisconsin in 2024, which absolutely made the difference and cost him that Senate race. Yet Republicans can't seem to be bothered. Why? Because that takes money out of their pocket. You have two big problem children in the Republican Party right now. You have MAGA grifters who are running around selling Trump t-shirts and cigars, but not actually winning votes, but they're stuffing a lot of money in their pocket. And you have the GOP consulting class who are counting their millions in Loudoun County and losing every election that they run. The Republican Party had this thing in California, and that's Scott right there. The Republican Party had this, election, this internal party election in California. They elect a new chairwoman, Patterson, who's a chump, sits down, and Corrin, who gets elected, immediately hires Kevin Faulconer and Ron Nehring on day one. Day one. Go look at Ron Nehring's Twitter feed and you tell me whether or not that guy shares your values. You tell me whether or not that guy understands the movement right now that is winning elections. You go to his Twitter feed right now and you tell me whether that guy understands the battle, the political battle, the war that is taking part in this country right now. Because I got to tell you, if you don't, you will never give these other people something to believe in. I have studied them more than anybody else in this industry, anyone in this country. I know what makes them tick. I know what motivates them. I know what their fears are. I know what their dreams are. They don't like either one of these sons of bitches. They don't like either one of these parties. They trust Donald Trump. They trust what he stands for, and everything else can go itself. You understand what I'm saying? You're not going to get them out for Rick Saccone in a special election. By the way, Rick had a career filled with anti-union fights, with anti-union. He carried the banner for anti-union agendas and movements. It's incredible. Scott's going to be on Friday. Perfect. A Free Will on Friday. Perfect. Done. That's done. And I just cannot wait to have him on, because here's the problem. All of these people who are getting all of this money don't know what they're doing, and they don't understand any of what I just said. First, before we even go to Scott's comments that I want to bring up, here's Mark Mitchell. You know him, you love him, our buddy over at Rasmussen Reports. We had almost an hour-long conversation the other day talking about how every time Republicans have an opportunity to make real change, to make real gains, they squander it. Or no, okay, we could do tomorrow or Friday. Okay. They squander it because they give all of the resources to the wrong people. Because no matter how much the rhinos lose at the ballot box in these waves that come in and take them out here and there, these periodic waves, the institution is still there. maybe there are good people who wind up getting some kind of leadership position in, the NRSC, the NRSC, or the NRCC, or the RGA, or the CAGOP, or the PAGOP, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. The rest of the grifters, because they're both sides are grifters. You got these MAGA grifters and you got these GOP grifters, and neither one of them know how to win elections. Neither one of them care or understand the very people who get them elected or get their people elected. When, not because of any doing of theirs, when things get so bad, it just carries and sweeps some of them over the finish line. In case it wasn't clear enough for you, Donald Trump comfortably won the presidency with 91 felony counts against him, while all their candidates lost everywhere. I like Dave. He's a nice guy. His team actually included some very good people. But let me say this as clear as I possibly can. Dave McCormick would not be a U.S. Senator today if Donald Trump was not running on that ballot. Let me say this as clear as I can. It doesn't matter if it's November 2nd, 5th, 7th, 3rd, whatever, 2024, or January 2nd, the day after New Year's. Or actually January 1st, the day after New Year's Eve parties. On an off-cycle year, these people are going to get up for Donald Trump, hungover, throwing up all over their shoes, and go vote for him. They will never do that for the Republican Party. Because the Republican Party will not learn. They will not learn. Here's Mark. Okay? Here's a story about the loss in PA. I went to CPAC in 2023, and there were still a lot of nonprofits, grassroots organizations, government people, etc. I went to CPAC in 2025, and it was mostly just people selling Trump cigars, wood American flags, etc. MAGA is mostly a grift. Holy shit. Does that sound familiar to you? This is why, by the way, people like, Robert and Mark, both Roberts, Mark, I, and others will go to these things. I can't stand going to CPAC. Everyone who knows me knows that's true. I can't stand it. You've been to one, you've been through them all. I was there with Mitt Romney with this very awkward moment. I am severely conservative. I remember looking around the room like, oh God, this guy's got no chance. None. You've been to one, you've been to them all, but they can show you where the true base is at. Did you see Scott there in 2025? With all the resources available to him, sitting with a booth, recruiting people from all over the country to join his organization, which has access. He knows it. He's one phone call away from access to the best data in the country, linking them into the network and getting them out to do the hard, not sexy work that needs to be done to keep these people engaged and to keep them motivated. I'm telling you right now, they're going to lose the election in Wisconsin next month. I already can tell you that. Gonna happen. Gonna happen. Why? Because a great organization that played a huge role in winning the Rust Belt states that gets no attention from all of the big name organizations that are taking credit, they are struggling to get funding. They are struggling to be supported. Because all of the millions are getting doled out to the people who are going to take it and sell MAGA cigars with it. You don't find this shit on the left. You don't. It's one thing about the left you have to admire. I call them myself fanatics, but the truth of the matter is they don't care who you are. They don't care if you've been labeled a terrorist. They don't care if you did 20 years in jail for murder. If you're the best at what you do, you're getting it. They want to win. Pure and simple. They want to win. They'll break rules. I'm not saying to do that. I'm not even, it's not even necessary. But they'll break rules. They'll go to the mat and they'll scratch and claw for it. And are there some grift? Of course there are. But is it an institution dominating by the grift? No. Nope. Is it an institution dominated by people who maybe need to get a clue? Sure. but they know the technical side of how to win elections. What counts, what gets votes counted. And they get the best people that they think they can get to do it, not the right. And in truth, this is something you all really need to know. The best people on the right have essentially been doing shit for free for the better part of a decade. How long do we expect Scott Presler to eat less than 2 or 3 meals a day so he can make sure that he gets votes for his preferred candidate? How long do you think, and it's not just him, it's others, how long do you think people are going to continue to do this while being neglected, while being ignored, while being criticized, while struggling, while watching people, no offense, bro, I'm not here to make friends, while watching people like Tony Fabrizio count his fucking millions? They're not going to do it forever. They're not, folks. Oh, hey, buddy. Got chocolate all over your face. Here you go. Daddy's doing a show. See you in a second, okay? Thanks, buddy. Want to say hello? It's not book club, but you can say hello. Hold on. Say hello.
Hello.
All right, you gotta go back to mommy now, because sometimes daddy says bad words and I don't want you to hear it. Okay? I love you. I love you more. So cute. It's spring break. Bear with me. Okay? Young ones keep us young. Young ones keep us, I don't know what the word is. Is something about the pitter patter of little feet in a home, isn't there, folks? I mean, there's nothing quite like it. There's something like, it does something to a home. I mean, your kids get older, and of course, they bring you their own joy, but there's something about the little pitter patter of feet in a house that makes a day, doesn't it? All right, let's look at how Scott reacted last night. Okay, here we have the Pennsylvania state election. And by the way, this goes so far. All right. You have grifters like the loser who attacked me, then got thrown out of the movement, and then ended up on CNN because he's a D writer who wants to survive anyway. He'll leech off anybody. And then, he gets tossed off of CNN and now it crawls back. You have all these so-called conservative voices giving him a platform to do it, right? Giving this guy who trashed the best people a platform to try to rehabilitate his image after he betrayed you and them for CNN. I mean, you got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. I asked for help in Pennsylvania and no one helped us. 482 votes. Hold on. $482 votes. Let me ask you a serious question and be honest with yourself. Do you think Scott Presler would not have been able to rustle up 482 votes? Did you see the work this man did in Louisiana? Do you really understand what he did there for Landry and all of them? How about Bucks County, which is now majority Republican for the first time ever, I think, since they started counting partisan? I'd have to go back and look. Or it's definitely since the 80s. Or the rest of the state, for that matter. Elon Musk isn't sending out millions right now to run around having people still counting votes. And I'm not dissing him for it. I'm just saying there are people who have not just come and gone, who have been around. Democrats reward those people. Republicans do not. They go for the next grift, immediately for the next grift. The next dude who throws a little gel in his hair, pops it in a stupid little twirl, and steals other people's Twitter feeds so he can pretend like he's smart. That's what Republicans go for. Of course he would have found 482 votes. He knows that area like the back of his hand. He knows the houses. These people know the houses. He knows this is the thing. He's not just looking at a piece of paper and looking at data. That's not what Scott does. He knows these people. He knows how to talk to them. He knows exactly what neighborhoods to go to, which ones he freaking knows are not going to show up if he doesn't go and do it. Of course he would have found 482 votes. Let's go to his other comment, which is the most alarming of them all. If you are this is in response to Eric Doherty over here, who constantly posts information on Twitter all day. He's certainly a Trump supporter, so keep that in mind. It comes down to the wire in a Trump plus 15 district. D plus 800 votes. Now, Josh Parsons was winning the election day vote. He got freaking mauled on the early vote. Mauled. It was like there was no progress or something in early voting in Pennsylvania in 2024. I'm telling you, it's an indicator that all of what was done in 2024 is not surviving under Donald Trump. Do you understand? I mean, even though he's the president, but without him on the ballot, it is not surviving. Do you understand what I'm telling you? And I know this to be the case in other states because, of course, I worked with 10X in Wisconsin, Michigan, and other states as well, but they focused there. They really hard focused on Michigan. They can see it. And they're not getting the resources that they need to do it. Pressler, again, I asked for help and no one would help us. Meanwhile, Illinois Democrats poured in $100,000 from a PAC. It's frustrating to do all of this work while Republicans are busy celebrating and posting on social media. It makes me question if I should continue doing this work. I could end the show right now. There's nothing else I need to say. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you and show you? This is a Donald Trump phenomena. I did all of this work and I showed you guys all of this work. Have we completely forgot that I coined the phrase Trump or bust voter and no prop voter, as Jack acknowledged on his show yesterday, on the show they aired yesterday at 2 when we had our interview? This was always something that they needed to acknowledge, and it was always the priority for them. And there were only ever going to be a handful of people that you could go to and make sure that you retain that support and you turn them into high prop voters. It is not impossible. We have seen it in the past. Even in the more recent past. Bill Clinton did it. Roosevelt did it. Trump did it in 18, which is why until the 2022 election, without him when he wasn't there, Republicans actually put up the best performance for a first-term incumbent midterm since if JFK. But if you were to have won the Arizona Senate election, you would have had to go back to FDR, when FDR was still able to bring out low and no prop voters, even in off-cycle elections. What I'm trying to tell you is it doesn't have to be the case that the professional class always outvotes the rest of normal America, the rest of non-volume addicted America. It doesn't have to be the case. They're choosing this because they're making a fortune and they're selling out the movement they claim to be a part of. And I know my own demographics on this show. They're selling the vast majority of you down. I will use a regular phrase. They are selling you all out. This is not the first. It will not be the last. And by the way, how did Trump do it in 18? He did it himself. He had to. He tried with Saccone. He tried with Karen Handel. She won, but she barely won, man. Price was winning that district by 21 points. She barely won 5 points. Rick Saccone lost. I pulled that race for somebody. On Friday, before Trump's visit, Rick Saccone was down 8 points to Connor Lamb. 8 points. By the last collection on Monday night, it was Lamb by 1, barely. It was like 0.8 or something. And Lamb won by a point. We were dead on with that poll. But Trump went there. What did he do? He went there. He talked to the steelworkers. He held a rally. And he almost salvaged it. He's one man. He cannot. First of all, he's one man and he's nearly 80 years old. Republicans did this during Reagan, too. They ignored all of the voters that voted for Reagan in presidential cycles, but would not vote for them in midterm cycles. Reagan was able to bail out Herbert Walker Bush, who was down double digits going into the summer against Michael Dukakis. He went and told everybody, believe the guy, give him a chance. It's a one example of a convention speech that absolutely did have an impact on polling. And then with the Willie Horton ad campaign, they buried Dukakis. But Bush pulled a Bush. A Bush is gonna Bush. He broke his promises on taxes. They did no work to bring these people, keep them into the coalition. And what happened? They fractured off into the Ross Perot coalition, and it cost him the election. They did not come back until his son, which is why he won New Hampshire, by the way. And when he betrayed them with the Iraq War, they bounced on him, and New Hampshire went for John Kerry. He managed to win the election based on fear. But those people would be gone and never to be seen again until a man called Donald Trump walked his ass down an escalator and said he's running for president. They just make the same mistakes over and over. And by the way, they did it back then. You may not like him, but Roger Stone was one of the best political operatives for Republicans in that era leading into the Reagan era. He understood what Phillips was talking about in the emerging Republican majority. He got it in a way that others really didn't. Let's get real. He made a lot of enemies. He pissed a lot of people off, but it doesn't matter. If Roger Stone was a Democrat, he would be protected by all costs. He would get hard focus and hard support at all costs, and it would let him run and do his thing, Chicken Wing. Not Republicans. Some pretentious piece of shit consultant comes along who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground, or his asshole from a hole in the ground. Talks about how Roger Stone offends him. The rest of them push him out. They get all of it. Roger Stone becomes a pariah. And I'm not here to defend Roger Stone. It's not what I'm saying. This has happened before, and I'm using him as an example. Reagan gets inundated with neocons, Gene and the rest of them. You got Bill Kristol's daddy, who suddenly defines his inner conservative. The guy was a fucking communist. Ends up with Bush breaking his promise, read my lips, no new taxes. Chases them away for more than almost a decade. And I told you going into this election, there is a real danger, a very real danger, that if they handle this wrong, they're going to fracture these people out of the Trump coalition, and it's going to make the fracture that was the Ross Perot coalition look like a paper cut. Do you remember when I told you this? The Perot coalition was 19-20%, folks. It's 1 in 5 at best. The Trump coalition, according to our polling, you could lose a third of your normal support. You're done. You're not even a national political party anymore. You're finished. Finished. But the truth is, a lot of these people don't care because they're going to make money no matter what. Jeff Rowe, Axiom Strategies, Chris Wilson at WPA Intel, they ruined Ron DeSantis. They destroyed his political aspirations. They don't give a shit. They took millions of dollars. Jeff Rowe made millions. His organization made millions. He's going to continue to make millions. In fact, they're basically dominant when it comes to running campaigns in the state of Texas, including Ken Paxton, who doesn't even own his own email list. Guys, This is not going to continue forever. I mean, the Scott Presslers are going to be over this very, very soon. And I can tell you right now, we're going to be alone soon, because I am talking to colleagues who are trying to be in our mold, independent pollsters, and there's just no way to do this. You're going to be stuck with me and the ABC News poll until I can't do it anymore. That's just the truth, because I already know 3 people who want to just bail. They just want to go. You know what, Rich? It was a great year. We did a good job. They're going to have to take this from here. This is not viable for me to do anymore. This is what Scott Presler is telling himself. He's not alone. And that's the reality. There has to be a conversation here. Or not. Or not. And end up where you end up. I mean, it's not really our problem. I mean, that's what happens to the country is. But I'm saying, like, you know, I mean, well, I wouldn't say it's not our problem. It's everybody's problem. It's not on them. It's not on Scott. You understand what I'm saying? It's not on Scott if he can't or no longer wants to do this. It's on them. Is he expected to continue to go the way he's going? While Jeff Rowe plays Scrooge McDuck and swims in his fucking vault? Come on. Give me a break. Everybody's human. Everybody's human. The guy's allowed to meet his hierarchy and needs. All right? Read some Abraham Maslow. Otherwise, he'll go about a different way. He's the only one who knows that New Jersey can be flipped. He really is. Everyone else talks trash, but they don't know. They don't understand how. And again, they don't understand the neighborhoods. This guy has been around forever. I lived in Jersey for years. So when you're talking to me about hunters that are registered, have hunting licenses in Jackson, but don't vote, like, I know Jackson Township. I know exactly what he's talking about. I understand the targets. You keep driving up Route 9, past Freehold into Marlboro. I understand those neighborhoods that would stop, the Democratic trend in the suburbs. I'm going to tell you right now, he's the only other person I can think of who, when I have spoken to them about different things, it was beyond numbers, guys. It was beyond numbers. He knows people. That's why he's effective at what he does. And by the way, they don't treat him very well or talk about him very well behind closed doors. Because let's just call it spade a spade. There's an element in a Republican establishment that's bigoted as hell. They don't like gay people. They don't like black people. They don't like Hispanic people. They don't actually want them to be a part of their coalition. They want their vote, but they would rather represent the middle to high, middle, upper class Valium addict in Marlboro than that hunter in Jackson. You get me? And again, I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm trying to paint you as real of a picture as I could possibly paint you. And I'm trying to do it in the most honest way possible. That is the reality. You're not going to reach them like this anyway. It's a total waste of time. And here's the kicker. You don't need to. They outnumber them. We have hammered this out a ridiculous amount of times. Do I need to get the charts up again? It's unnecessary. They outnumber them. The suburbs are about half of the vote in this country. Let's call it 52%. Women are about 52% of the vote in this country. So let's relatively cut that in half. Educated voters, depending on the area, post-grads, 13, 15. On a good election for them, maybe 17%. That's it. College graduates, 4-year degree, 25. So let's put that together and call it 42%. Let's call it 40 just to be, because it is 60-40 basically. You're caring about 40%. Hold on. Let me do this another way. You are obsessing over a group that is 40% of 52% of a greater 52%, right? So you have the burbs that are like 52% of the vote, females are like 52% of the vote. When you only consider the educated part of that, you got to cut that almost in half, actually even less, to another 40. So you are effectively obsessing over somewhere between 10 and 15% of the vote when these people dwarf them by 2 to 1. By the actual targets, dwarf them almost 2 to 1. All you got to do is not be a liar, a scumbag, and actually govern the way you say you're going to govern, and stop stabbing people in the back and support people who actually do their work and aren't grifters. Like, it's not that difficult. I'm so sick of hearing about educated people voting higher rates. They didn't always. It doesn't have to be the case. Has it long been the case? Sure, because they're the most beaten down element in society. They're the most disgruntled element in society. It takes somebody like a Donald Trump to come along and make them believe, if I vote, it will matter. Tell me, what have Republicans done to convince these people that if they get up and vote for them when it is not election day, their election day in their mind, end of story, is the presidential election. Every 4 years we elect a president in their mind, and they may or may not vote for him. That's it. The midterm elections for Congress, they don't give a shit about. They don't care. Maybe once in a while they'll vote for governor, but probably not. Not probably. Overwhelmingly not. They aren't going to get up in there when with that mentality. They are not going to get up and vote for people that represent or are nominated for the Republican Party, because they have done nothing for them. They have demonstrated absolutely no difference between them and the Democratic Party. In fact, to many of these people, at least if Democrats are elected, they'll make sure that they're going to get their state help, or, they're not going to get their Medicaid taken away, or they're not going to get their subsidy for whatever health insurance they have taken away, that they're going to fight for, more money for the state so the state can do road projects and other stuff like that. Like, that's how they're not partisans, but they're also not fanatics. They don't think that if you're a man and you're walking around with a schlong, you could just suddenly wake up one day and think that you're a woman. Like, that's delusional, and you need mental help. Along with all of the women in the suburbs on Valium who are hiring them to cut their lawns. Because their husbands don't do it, and they're barely around and work in the office all day doing God knows what and come home late. So they have to figure out what to do. I'm going to get my own job. I'm going to immerse myself in my own life. But I still need someone to fix the fence. I want to put a new addition on the house. Got to call the lowly people who aren't as good as me. I'm so virtuous. I'm giving them food to eat. Come on. Let's cut the shit. There was a voter on Two-Way, right? Mark Halpern's show on YouTube. By the way, that's another thing. That's a perfect example right there. Yeah, that's a great idea, Mark. Why don't you invite people on your show who actually didn't know anything about the Trump coalition? It's a great idea. And they can come on and explain to your viewers about the Trump coalition. That's fantastic, bro. But it was great when it was like him talking to these voters, and these voters would come on. And this one woman who was a swing voter from the demographic, certainly not friendly in the media narrative to Donald Trump, did not fit into the First glass of wine at 1 o'clock, third Valium by 2:30, demographic. So just a hardworking suburban woman. And she basically said, I don't agree with what Trump, says, how he says it. But at the end of the day, I'm going to vote for him because you have to care about the condition of your fellow neighbors and not physical neighbors, but like your fellow citizens. You have to care. It's not okay that I'm doing well at their expense and they're hurt so bad over it. $2.52. I didn't even do the damn read the whole show. Goes to show you, where I'm at on this, or really how passionate I am on this. You have to understand, I speak to these people day in and day out most of the time. I know them. I get them. And then I see somebody like Pressler who also gets them, and he just gets shit on. It's bullshit, folks. And it's a loser. It's a loser for Republicans. They're going to find out, man. They're going to find out the hard way. The midterms are not going to be any better. Not at this rate. The very important, significant, beyond like a word I could drag out of my vocabulary to fully encapsulate everything I'm talking, encompass everything I'm talking about here. The very, very, very important Supreme Court race in Wisconsin next month, Republicans are going to lose. If the election was held today, they will lose. And we're going to be looking at counties. Which counties you think we're going to be looking at, folks? Ashland, Bayfield, Douglas, Dorr, Sauk, Polk. And which ones are they all going to focus on, folks? Kenosha, Racine. Come on, man. It's getting a little old for all of us. You'll appreciate him when he's gone. I'll be honest with you. I can't tell you how many times, because this industry does not treat me well. Look at what happened today. It's first thing in the locals chat. That's not even a real poll. If you can't poll, you probably shouldn't do pollster scorecards. Okay? If you can't poll yourself. A joke. Did you see some of their demographics during the election? Do we have to drag them up? Harris is going to win in rural Pennsylvania? Guys, give me... I cannot tell you how many times I've said to Laura, you know what, Laura? I got a great opportunity. Just a couple of years ago, I got LASIK surgery. I'm 43 years old now. Soon it's going to wear out. It's not going to last forever. I should take my perfect 20/20 vision right now, spend a little bit of money, finish my pilot's license, and call it a wrap. I think about it a lot. And I have a home, a nice home. Thank God. Praise God. I've been fortunate. I have a wonderful and beautiful family. Imagine what others, he and others, just imagine the prospect of continuing the most thankless work in the world that you even fully believe in. Sure, folks, it doesn't matter. Well, if you believe in it, and he's allowed to be compensated for what he's doing. He's allowed to want to be, especially with all of these people out there. Mark is talking about. He's human. Unbelievable. All right, let's do a speaking of which, Right? Let's do an ad because, I'm over your dog in the professional class. But it is true that once in a while, these grifters of themselves do get it right. It has been some new bombshell research from Yale scientists. They do confirm the post-vaccination syndrome, otherwise known as PVS, weakens the immune system, its functions, causing chronic inflammation, declining T cell activity, while spike protein levels increase over time. This means your immune system could be wearing down. You don't even know it, making you more vulnerable to illnesses. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. It's now backed by hard science. Are you feeling the effects of COVID or the shot? The long COVID syndrome is a condition, and it leaves people feeling brain fog, chronic fatigue, shortness of breath. It lingers for months, in some cases years. The Wellness Company makes it easy for you to tackle this with their new long COVID syndrome support. You get 4 doctor-formulated nutraceuticals with 5 to 8 plants and minerals in each bottle, designed to address the root causes. Ultimate Spike Detox, Mind Lift, Elevated Energy, and Healthy Heart. Dr. Peter McCullough is the top freedom-fighting cardiologist, recommends a durable recovery through holistic health. Explore targeted solutions like long COVID syndrome support. Get $23 off plus free shipping. Head to twc.health/TPP. Use the promo code TPP. The link is in the description, as it always is, right? And take action today for a healthier tomorrow. Listen, I really, I say this, but I really can tell you, like, most big vaccine skeptics that I know, definitely very early on, early on in all of this, I should say, suffering from what they, now know to be long COVID syndrome, and use the wellness companies, and they swear by it. Like, I can't tell you how many people are like, I saw this on your show. I have long COVID. I grabbed it, and the spike detox, especially, it worked. So I mean, if I don't have to blow his stuff up, but I know somebody personally, like in my family, that did it, and he's older too, so it's tough. It was tough on him. All right, so yeah, links in the description. Go check it out. We're at 3 o'clock already. For real? I got a text from Laura. Says, watch your potty mouth. I mean, she's right. But the shit angers me. Sorry. He's going to throw a toy block at my head here in a second. Yeah, you know what I mean. It does. It bothers me. It's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. And the truth of the matter is, I know I have a certain level of I empathize with him and others, because I have I guess I understand and have dealt with my own version of this. This industry has treated me very poorly, all for being a critic, and I wasn't always this harsh of a critic. Okay, it's true. When I first came out and did this, I didn't just come out throwing bombs. I came out with intellectual arguments, experimental stuff to try out publicly, to show people, to try to prove a point. They were awful people, which is why I celebrated some of their demise yesterday on Jack Posovic's show. But it's not over. It definitely is not over. It continues, and worse. Again, like Scott has MAGA grifters he's got to deal with. We have these newcomers to our industry who also are trying to wedge their way into this space, and they are full of shit. They are totally full of shit. And it's very clear. By the way, that one, he was also removed from Nate Silver's thing. Only the reason's kind of legit. That's not a scientific sample. It's not. Which is why you're getting huge weights. Folks, do you have any idea the weighting efficiency percentage? When you take something like a sample that's 65% female, 35% male, and weight it to 52-48, you have any idea how much the weighting efficiency falls when you do this? You can't do that. That is a bad sample. Because the let me just put it as simple as I can. The lower your weighting efficiency, the higher risk you are for not just an error, but a significant error. If you look at all the demographics and those variables, they're doing it with everything. The urban vote is weighted from 45% to 22%. The suburban vote is weighted from 65% to 48%. The party votes are weighted. I mean, you cannot go through the process of rank weighting and not only do one demographic variable like that, but all of them. Which is why they had some crazy, crazy results and ended up wrong. And it also should, by the way, immediately become a red flag to you that the pollster is trying to get the result they want. Simple as that. Increase your sample size, and you're probably going to get a more representative sample. A state poll that has 240 responses is an insufficient sample size. Response rates are simply too low. There is no one-size-fits-all data collection mode, although SMS did very well for us in 2024. I mean, very well. But it did skew a little male, just a hair, not much. And it still was a little, no, it just, sometimes it wasn't too old. But it definitely skewed a little male. But there's no universal data collection mode. There's no way on God's green earth, not a snowball's chance in hell, that you're going to get an accurate result with 240, 230, 200, whatever, in a huge-ass state like Pennsylvania. No chance. Not even in Nevada, by the way. It's just not enough. It's just the way proportion works. Proportionality works. It's just not enough. All right? All right. All right, it's 3:03. How to get this off my chest. I just sat on X last night mocking people, in case you didn't see. I told you I'm going to get kind of nasty from this point on. After what they did to me in 24 and then how it all panned out, you're going to see a different People's Pundit. I tried to do this the nice way. I really did, folks. I really did. And they ran me through the mud good. Well, now they get the guy before he became the People's Pundit. Now they get the guy from working class Staten Island. You wanted it? You got it. Let's rumble. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and share them far and wide. All right? Locals, YouTube, Rumble, Getter, we're everywhere. At People's Pundit is usually the handle, except for on X, which is at People's_Pundit. And it's People's Pundit Daily on YouTube because, of course, it used to be daily, and now it's trying to be again. But the best place to follow us, the new UI is awesome, is on Locals, peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. And you might notice when you sign in with the addition of Cloudflare to protect the site as it goes through its changes, you will have to re-enter your path. Like my browser, when it first went in for the new UI, did not recognize my, when you save passwords in your keychain, it did not recognize it. I had to go and update it. And now Cloudflare will remember it. That's where the catch they're using. I can see it. But in any event, the new UI is fantastic. Locals is fantastic. We love them. And we definitely encourage you to join there. If you are a member, if you are a supporter, not a member, anyone can be a member. You just sign up. Right? You don't have to become a supporter. But if you are a supporter on Locals, do not forget to come to the book club, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. Nations and Identities by Vincent Pecora is what we're reading. And we are currently going into Marte, I believe, right? Because we just read, what is it? Nation by Renan. Yes, section 18, Marte, right? Our America. Which is going to start to get into some liberal stuff. And I know some of you aren't going to like it, but it has to be done. We're going to read the whole thing. I was going to skip certain sections, but if we really are going to try to tackle Benedict Anderson's Imagined Communities, which is, in my opinion, a work of art, we have to read everything. I mean, we have to read and get not just read, be familiar with the body of work out there on nationalism before Benedict Anderson, which you're going to see some of anyway in there, but not all. All right. That's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also join if you are a member on YouTube. And I go to the community section every Sunday before book club, and I post the you need an invite. You need a password and invite. The post a shared Zoom information for you to log on to Zoom and join. We're getting some really good turnout. It's really cool. I'm glad because I am very much enjoying book club. Very much enjoying it. It's almost like going back to my college days, and it's without all the drama and all the pressure, and it's fun, right? And we have some great conversations, and we're the better and smarter for it. All right. We are the better and smarter. And we've been so lucky with the works. I try to make the book picks as prescient as possible. And we've gotten lucky so far. World has, the universe has gone in the direction that I kind of thought it would. So the body of work that we're reading is always relevant. All right. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And then usually after book club, I pass it off to one or two of my longtime followers. And they're like my basically like book club assistants at this point. And people shoot the for maybe an hour or so until everyone goes and breaks to have Sunday dinner. It's really a lot of fun. I really enjoy the book club. I look forward to it, in fact. All right. So what else? The public polling project. The link is in the description. If you want to get a poll out soon, you got to contribute to it and share it, because this is another point. We'll get into this. I told you we're going to have a discussion at some point. This is a great example. All right. Everybody hates crappy polls. Everyone hates, what, right? And they constantly want new information, but nobody, and I'm not necessarily referring to you. I'm talking about like people in general. People want what they want, but they don't always want to work for it, and that's how the world is, except for the fanatics out there. They want to push everything they can, and they do it because it's like the most important thing in their life. We come from different worlds. We have different experiences, right? And we prioritize different things, right? But the link to that is in the description as well. I feel like I'm missing something. Well, I have Scott on. I'm not. He said Friday is good, but maybe we can make it work a little bit earlier. What else though? Maybe even tomorrow. I would rather the sooner the better. So if we can make it work tomorrow, we will. And Dr. Steve Turley. I'll be on Turley Talks April 1st. Oh man, you guys know I love Turley Talks. There are YouTubers and there are Turley Talk. There's YouTube and then there's Turley Talks. I'm telling you, guys, on another level, intellectually and how he observes current events, he is on a different level than the vast majority of people putting out content. And I very much look forward to the conversations that we have together. He's great. And by the way, my locals, I can see you guys love him. All right. So, but if you haven't checked out Dr. Steve Turley, you absolutely need to. Turley Talk is fantastic. All right. That's it. That's a wrap. I will see you guys tomorrow. As always, don't do anything stupid that I wouldn't do. And deuces. Thanks for watching Inside the Numbers. And do not forget what I told you.